Hello and welcome to The Buck Stops Here tonight. A landmark new report has found that diesel SUVs on Indian roads are emitting 25 to 65 times more noxious nitrogen oxide as compared to a small petrol car. Now, these shocking results come from actual on-road emission tests, and a study published earlier this year in Nature magazine said that excess diesel car emissions were linked to 38,000 deaths, premature deaths worldwide in 2015. Most of these were in Europe, India and China. We're asking tonight, is it now more important than ever before? In fact, is it now imperative to say no to diesel cars? We're being joined on the program tonight by Anup Bandivadekar. He's the project director of the International Council on Clean Transportation. He's in fact co-author of that landmark report that we're going to be discussing in detail tonight. Sunita Narayan, Director General, Centre for Science and Environment, which has been highlighting this report here in India. Jagdish Khattar, CMD of Carnation Auto, former Managing Director of Maruti Udyog Limited, also with us tonight, as is Tutu Dhawan, an auto expert and a classic car restorer. Anup, let me begin with you. I think we're taking this report particularly seriously because for the first time, we have hard data, or rather you have hard data to show that even adding one diesel SUV to the road is the same as adding, in effect, 65 small petrol cars. Are we correct in saying this? And what evidence do you have to back this finding?
Sure. Thanks, Ankita. Basically, it's true that nitrogen oxide emissions from large diesel SUVs are anywhere between 40 to 60 times that of a small gasoline car. And this we found by testing all of the vehicles, one small gasoline car, one small diesel car, and a diesel SUV in both laboratory and on-the-road conditions using a portable emissions monitoring system.
Right. So this is an on-road emission test, and effectively this shows up most diesel cars to be enormous polluters well above the limit, even if these cars have actually passed tests in lab conditions.
That's exactly true. This is a problem that's not unlike what we've seen in Europe for the last decade, and it seems like India, unfortunately, might be repeating the same mistakes from Europe. So these cars are still passing the test even here in India. But unfortunately, under real-life conditions, which is where really the emissions matter, the performance is actually not up to par.
All right. So your organization actually also was responsible for uncovering what is now known as Dieselgate, the Volkswagen emissions scandal, which revealed that cars were in fact made to adhere to emission standards when they were tested in labs, but it was a whole different ballgame when they were actually tested on the roads. So are you then saying that A, this is not limited to Volkswagen alone, and B, that this is true of diesel cars worldwide?
The experience from Europe suggests that calibrating the cars one way for passing the test and then calibrating it differently for on-road conditions is not a one-company problem. It seems to be pretty pervasive. We don't know exactly what the situation is in India. This is the first attempt to find out how widely different the on-road performance is. The on-road emissions are always going to be different from what you measure in the laboratory. It's just we don't know how bad the performance is actually on the road. And really what we need to make sure is then to get the manufacturers to design the vehicles in a way that will actually perform the same way in the lab as on the road.
All right, Jagdish Khattar, I want you to come in on this because this report seems to prove that emissions from on-road diesel cars far exceed Bharat Stage 6 emission standards in India. Now, this seems to dispel this myth that there is such a thing as a clean diesel car. How would you respond to
that? I think let's keep one thing in mind. We are been having this discussion, debate on diesel, etc., etc. I think we have to wait for 2030 when Mr. Gadkari will give us all electric cars on the road. So I think major problem will be solved. But coming back to this, I mean, we need to first decide, are we against diesel or we are against diesel cars? I mean, that is very important. Number two, we are comparing petrol cars, small petrol cars with SUVs. Is that like to like? I mean, I am not trying to defend, but I am trying to say that what are some flaws in the whole argument given. Small petrol cars compared to SUVs which are bigger. I mean, that's not a proper way of
sir,
doing
we
it.
may not be comparing
So,
like
yes,
to like, but
bigger,
the numbers
bigger,
are shocking. 65 times. We're still talking about one car at the end of the day, whether it's a larger car or a smaller car. When we are saying that a car is effectively polluting 65 times more than the other car, then surely even a like-to-like comparison has to sort of, take this into account, that these are shocking figures.
I think no. You take one figure, it is shocking, but let's take overall. I mean, again, I am saying, are we against diesel or we are against diesel cars? Okay, diesel cars we are talking about, that has been mentioned just now, but let's face it, as far as the diesel is concerned, we have 50,000 megawatts of diesel generators running in this country today. We have, Mr. Goyal says that we are surplus in power and stations are running at 57%.
Okay, so, all right,
can we convert that into electricity and it will take care of so much?
I can see Sunita Narayan strongly disagreeing with that. Sunita, I'm going to let you interject at this point and then come back to Mr. Khattar.
No, 1 second, I'll just finish. Just finish.
Okay.
No, Ankita, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just frustrated. I'm just frustrated and saddened.
So are we.
I mean, Ankita, this argument of industry just does not wash anymore. I mean, we have been saying very clearly there is a fiscal incentive for diesel. Even today, diesel versus petrol, the price of diesel is much cheaper because of the taxation. We know that that has meant huge amount of dieselization. Now, the point that Mr. Khattar has made is that you're not comparing like to like. The fact is that there is only one emission standard for small diesel and large diesel together.
Right.
For petrol and diesel, if you look at NOx emissions, there's about a 3 to 5% difference in standard. Okay? So, you would expect a diesel car, a big one or a small one, to emit about 3 to 5 times more NOx than a petrol. What Anoop's study has shown is that on road, that vehicle could be emitting 65 times more.
Right.
Now, clearly, this only suggests to us that we should not be allowing dieselization in India. If we want vehicles, we do want cars. Why not petrol cars? You have to tax diesel, you have to bring the price of diesel and petrol to be one, you have to make emission standards one, and you need to test on-road emissions. You can't only do testing at PUC centers,
I think that's a very
you have to test on-road emissions.
That's a very important point that you raise, and I want to take that across to Dhawan as the auto expert on the show. I think it's interesting that not a single representative from an automaker in India was willing to join us on the show tonight. And even the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, which initially said they would, pulled out in the end. And I think that just goes to show the levels of nervousness here. But Mr. Dhawan, I want to ask you, why is it that auto manufacturers resist any kind of on-road testing? Why is it that there seem to be different standards when it comes to lab testing and an emissions test actually on the road in actual real-world conditions?
Well, all that I can say is our emission standards are different to the international standards.
Yes.
Whereas in America, we are now going under Euro 6 norms, and here we are still struggling to fight Euro 4 norms. And on top of that, there is no stringent checking on vehicles that are being manufactured. There are no independent organizations which are doing all these tests. Like now, Anoop has done something very commendable, I would say, to have found what goes behind the scene. Like this, there should have been a government agency which should have been doing all these things and giving a report to the ARAI and also to the Society of Automotive Manufacturing Association, so that they could upgrade their own technology if they have, or else, you know, let's look for an alternate.
Okay.